Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the AdCup Show. Today, we are diving deep into a hot debate: globalization versus regionalization. Is the world splitting into regional trade blocs, or is globalization still expanding? Let's unpack this with the latest data and see what it means for our economies, politics, and of course, culture. All right, let's kick this off with some numbers. If you look at Asia, the growth in intra regional trade since 2020 has been nothing short of explosive, up by 20%. That's according to latest from the Asian Development Bank. But here is the twist. What about global trade growth? Well, it has slowed down, only creeping up by 2.7% in 2023 as per the WTO's latest trade statistics. And in 2024, global trade volume grew by just 1.5%, the lowest since the financial crisis, according to UNCTAD data. First off, let's talk about economics. Where are regional trade blocs like European Union, USMCA, and RCEP are standing in all of this? Well, the EU alone sees over 60% of its trade happening within its borders, which is huge. This tells that countries are focusing more on their neighbors for trade, possibly for more stability and resilience. But here is the catch. While regional trade is booming, it might lead to trade diversions. That's when you are start to buy from less efficient but regionally close suppliers because of trade agreements, rather than from most cost-effective global suppliers. And according to 2024 report by IMF, this can reduce global economic efficiency by up to 2%. Now, the RCEP is a beast. 15 countries, including China, Japan, South Korea, and major Southeast Asian economies, representing about 30% of global GDP. This bloc alone is reshaping Asian trade dynamics, making it less about global integration and more about regional dominance. In 2024, RCEP's intra-regional trade share reached 55%, a significant jump from 50% just a year prior. However, there's an onslaught of Chinese industries and cheap goods after RCEP was signed. This has resulted in job losses in Southeast Asian economies. Global trade hasn't stopped though. Despite the slowdown, the value of global merchandise trade reached 24 trillion in 2024, showing that globalization isn't dead. It's just getting more nuanced with regional twists. Moreover, digital trade has surged with cross-border e-commerce growing up by 17% in 2024 as per the OECD data. Politically, things get spicy. With tension, especially between US and China, countries are hedging their bets by forming regional alliances. The trade war has had everyone rethinking their economic dependencies. Take the CPTPP, which has become more relevant without the US. It's a nice example of how nations are blending together to fill the void left by big players stepping back from global leadership. In 2024, the UK officially joined CPTPP, bringing its total GDP coverage to 15% of the global GDP. But it's not all about conflict. Regional blocs can also provide more control over economic policies. For instance, EU's ability to set its own trade standards rather than just following global norms give its member more autonomy. Yet, this regional focus can be double-edged sword. As we saw with Brexit, regionalism can lead to political fragmentation if not managed well. And according to recent poll by Pew Research in 2024, 60% of Europeans support regional trade over broader global trade, showing a clear preference for regional autonomy. However, there's also a growing sentiment for more global cooperation, with 45% of respondents in G7 countries survey advocating for stronger international trade policies. Culture is a big part in this equation. Globalization has been like a cultural blender, but regionalization might just slow that down. It's not about stopping cultural exchanges, but more about giving local cultures a louder voice. In Asia, for example, the RCEP doesn't just facilitate trade, it's a platform for cultural exchange within the region, potentially strengthening regional identity. But here's a flip side: cultural nationalism is on the rise. A 2024 UNESCO report highlighted how regional trade can lead to prevention of local culture, which might limit the spread of global cultural elements. Moreover, regionalization might foster deeper cultural ties where there's already a cultural kinship, like in the EU, where regional programs encourage cultural dialogue. Yet, this can also mean less exposure to diverse global cultures, which we have seen in slight decline of international tourism post COVID, with a 5% drop in intercontinental travel, according to the UNWTO data. However, 2024 data shows a rebound with 3% increase in international visitor, indicating a slow but steady recovery. Here's where it gets interesting with the latest data. With some argue regionalization is on the rise with shorter trade distances, the average distance of global trade hasn't really dipped. The 2024 DHL Global Connectedness Index shows that average trade distance has actually increased by 2% since 2020, suggesting globalization is still in a play but with new patterns. Technology plays a massive role here. With advancement like 3D printing and digital goods, the need for long physical supply chains diminishes, potentially supporting regional trade. Yet these technologies also enable global trade through digital platforms, making the world smaller in digital sense. In 2024, the use of blockchain for cross-border transactions increased by 35%, further bridging global distances. And let's not forget about the sheer number of trade agreements. Over 300 are in force as of 2024, according to the WTO, many of which are regional but still play part of the global trade network. Additionally, there has been 10% increase in new trade agreements signed in 2024, showing an ongoing commitment to both regional and global trade. So where does this leave us? It's clear we are not seeing the end of globalization, but rather its evolution. Regional trade blocs are strengthening, providing economic, political, and cultural benefits. But they are not isolated. They are part of a larger, more complex global trade puzzle. The future likely involves a hybrid model where regional blocs and global trade systems complement each other. The challenge will be to ensure this balance doesn't fragment the world, but instead leverages the strength of both approaches for sustained growth, cultural richness, and political stability. Thanks for sticking with me through this deep dive into globalization versus regionalization. If you found this video interesting, don't forget to like and subscribe. By the way, what do you think about globalization and regionalization? Write your views in the comment section, and remember, world is not black and white. It's a fascinating blend of both. So keep an eye on these trends because they are shaping our future in ways we are only just beginning to understand. Catch you next time.